I just got a brand new laser from xTool, the S1 model, and I love it. The problem is, it's an eyesore. It's sitting on the ground on a box, the cardboard box that it came in. And if you know me, I love shop organization. That's problem number one. Problem number two is I don't have a laptop. I've been bringing my desktop in from the house into the garage, and that's not really great for spontaneous laser engraving projects, that's for sure. The solution is an all-in-one mobile laser engraver station that's going to be in this shop. There are plans that are going to be available to you guys, so check those out. But let's get this started, and let me show you a few of the key features that I really like. I'm going to be using for this project 3/4 inch imported birch, which is the cheapest good plywood that you can buy. 1/2 inch imported birch finished. They didn't have the unfinished, but they gave it to me the price for the unfinished. So I saved a few bucks, $7 to be exact. Also 1/4 inch, I think it's birch. Either way, it's 1/4 inch plywood. This is for the bottom of the drawers. Now, I will need slightly more than one whole sheet of the 3/4 inch, but that's no big deal. I got plenty on reserve on standby in the scrapwood cart. So I just cut a bunch of plywood, but who loves watching that? So let's skip forward to me being overconfident about my cuts. It's a bit of foreshadowing. Don't follow my example. It feels great to have everything cut out so that I can now move forward. I have my drawer bottoms, my drawers, and my actual box itself, including the back doors. So now all I gotta do is just construct this box. Traditionally, you would want to cut out your drawers after you build your box, but I felt very confident about my measurements.
What are you? An idiot sandwich.
And now I can move forward. I know exactly what you're thinking. What about the edge banding? Don't worry, I got you covered. But basically, I'm just making a box, and this all-in-one laser engraving station will be packed with features. And honestly, I think I created a new winner in the shop project eye candy category. I seem to have had an issue with making this huge box square, and when measuring from corner to corner, it's about a 1/2 inch off. So here's what I did. I was able to use my clamps to spread them, and I drilled a screw right here, which is keeping this out far enough. And now I'm gonna glue and brad nail this piece into place, and it should be pretty good. I did a test remeasure and it was only off by less than 1/8 of an inch, which I think is workable. Double check where I'm at. So that's 45 1/8. That's 44 7/8. It'll have to do. This box is starting to take shape, and I need to put stringers up, but they're not gonna be your traditional stringers. Typically, you're gonna have them flush right here, and they're probably about 3 inches thick. I went 2 inches thick, and they're gonna be inset a whole inch. And the reason why is because I'm gonna have doors here and door hardware. So if I make these too thick, it will run into the door hardware. There's a lot going on the inside here, on the front and the back. So these stringers are crucially important to stabilize.
Strategery.
Stabilize? That's a new word. Stabilize this cabinet. Top and also one at the bottom. Installing drawer slides can be very intimidating for a lot of people, but it's a lot simpler than you think. You just need to make sure that this slide is the same height as that slide. And we do that by getting a board and just setting it on top, transferring it over here, and then installing the second one. They'll be the same height. Make sure you blow out any of the sawdust that you have so you don't get any unevenness. Once you install that piece and drill it in, you're gonna cut the distance, the thickness of your next drawer slide. And that's how I was able to do all of this, and then just transfer that piece. So you will have a large piece that you will have to eventually waste down to pretty much nothing, and it's a throwaway scrap. I like to pre-drill my holes for all my slides, so there's a lot of drilling and screwing. So I love this tool right here, which allows me to flip my bit around for the drill. It also has countersink, and then flip back around for my bit. I'll leave a link in the description just for you. After I install these pieces, I will put back in the inner piece. That way I can keep track of them. And when I make my drawers, I can do this. I can attach this to drawer later. Now that all the drawer slides are in and installed, it's time to start assembling these boxes. I have good news and I have some bad news. First of all, this drawer is just not fastened together. It's just sitting here. So the good news is my cuts for the plywood pieces for my boxes that I did before I actually made the box are dead nuts on. Perfect cuts. The bad news is those perfect cuts were assuming that this plywood was a 1/2 inch thick.
What?
And 1/2 inch plywood is actually slightly less than.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
So I'm about 1/8 of an inch short. And these drawers aren't going to be wide enough to fasten to the drawer slides. So I have an idea. I have these 3 pieces of hard maple that I'm going to rip and plane down to the exact thickness that I need to fill that spot and connect them to the edge of all of those boards. In fact, I already did it to this piece, so I should, between the 3 of these, have enough. And if I don't, I'll just get some other wood and do it with that. It'll take a little extra time and slow this project down, but such is the life of a mediocre woodworker. The secret to getting the right width on all these 1/4 inch pieces that we got to put in here is after you make your first cut, I'm gonna find the sweet spot with a test piece by moving the fence over just enough a little bit each time until I sneak up on that perfect fit. Once I find that, I'm gonna leave my fence in that place and run all my other pieces through. And that way they'll all be uniform and I'll have the exact same place where the 1/4 inch bottom will snug into. That is just right. Now I'm gonna run all these other pieces with that same width and then go back and hog out the middle on all of them. I couldn't be happier with how the boxes turned out. Now all I have to do is make my measurements on the sides and put those drawer slides right where they belong and pop them right in. Fingers crossed, everything is as good as it seems and these drawers will insert without trouble. On the other hand, I didn't construct the very top box drawer because that's where my computer's going to be and I haven't ironed out everything I want to do and all the measurements yet. So I'm waiting to get this part done and then I'm going to move on to that. I used 1/4 inch plywood scraps as spacers for consistent spacing in between each of the drawers. I also noticed on just about every tool or doodad out there, there are little hidden features like this one. They also have these little notches right here which tells me what center is and that is super helpful. Before I do anything else with this project, I got to make this a lot easier to navigate. So I'm going to install these caster wheels. These have become my go-to casters for pretty much everything. I have tried the Home Depot casters, way too expensive. I've tried the Harbor Freight casters. Those are actually pretty good for the price. They don't look like much, but they get the job done. But nothing beats these orange and black casters I get from Amazon. The price is right, they hold a ton of weight, smooth bearings, easy locking foot pad brake, and they look the best.
3, 2, 1.
It's time to make that top drawer, but I need the laptop so I can be sure to make all of my measurements perfect. So I took a trip down to my neighborhood apple tree. Good thing they are in season. 11.5 millimeters thick, which is important to know when I'm making this thing and finding out how high I want it to sit. Do I want to recess it a little bit or just have it sit on top of the drawer? I also have to think about the drawer face. So this has to be flush with the drawer face or sitting a little bit above it. So many decisions. Let's figure this out. I was tempted to assemble the drawer with a plywood top and just rest the laptop on top of that, but then I remembered I had been holding on to this leftover Kaizen foam piece for a few years now. Ooh, I don't know. Might be too perfect.
Wow. That's amazing.
I knew the perfect project would find use for it, and this is that project. Fortunately, Kaizen foam cuts like butter on the table saw, and customizing spaces for any shape is easy as long as you have a utility knife, some nimble fingers, and a bit of patience. Kaizen foam is comprised of layers that separate from each other as long as you are slow and careful. It seems like the older I get, the heavier this plywood gets. The longer I do this, seems like the less help's available around the house. The kids get older and they grow up and move out, have kids of their own, and I'm here just by myself. I have everything here unsecured. At the angle that you're looking at with the camera, it probably looks pretty good. This right here is the worst spot as far as the reveal. This panel right here is actually bending inward. There are probably a variety of reasons why these reveals are a little off. But when you're dealing with the cheapest plywood possible, that might have a little bit of a bend to it. When you don't have parallel guides with your track saw or a large cabinet saw, there are a ton of reasons. It is what it is. And when it's painted all black, the reveals will be less noticeable. The back doors are no ordinary doors. There will be multiple wires exiting these doors and a large 3-inch hose that goes from the laser engraver to the smoke purifier. The doors need to be able to open freely, so I clamped the doors to my workbench and drilled a pilot hole right in the middle of the crease in between the doors and left the drill bit in the hole so the spacer scrap wouldn't move and my placement of the hole saw would be perfect. Half of the hole in one door and half of the hole in the other. Anything less than perfect wouldn't be visually appealing. All right, now check this out. Now that I've got perfect placement exactly where I want to drill that hole, I'm going to use a thing called the me clamp. Okay, here we go. I'm doing this because I want perfect placement and no tear out. Now, if I can just see, that's the hardest part. Got it. Moment of truth to see if we got on the other side as well. Wow, not too shabby. Look at that. Making inset doors isn't hard, but you know what is? Finding inset door hinges. I suppose they aren't that popular, but eventually I found them, and if you want some for yourself, I found some affordable ones, so click below if you want some too. Really nicely. Now, the next step is dealing with this air assist, which has the tubes that come up here and connect to the laser. I could just set it right there and that'd probably be fine, but what's the fun in that? I am going to build its own little platform home right here. It also has these little wobbly feet that make it vibrate as it's being used. It kind of creates a silence of vibration, which is pretty cool. xTool is pretty smart by doing that. I need to keep it away from this wall just a few millimeters so it doesn't bump up against that, and it can sit there and silently vibrate as it works. Well, I seem to have not accounted for this brace right here for these tubes to come through, and well, there's really no area. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drill a hole with my Forstner bit all the way through with a backing piece right here so it doesn't blow out the back. Even though no one will ever see it, I'll know it's there. We're going to make a nice clean hole so that those two tubes can come right through. That looks sharp. We'll call this a win. If you have been following my channel, then you know I love to paint my shop projects. It really adds to the ambiance of where I love to spend my time. If I'm going to be here a lot making content for all of you, then I might as well make it a place not only I enjoy being in, but you can enjoy looking at while I film these videos. xTool doesn't know I plan on doing this, but I think they have the coolest laser company logo that I just had to recreate for my laser cart. If you don't have a sprayer, these small foam cabinet paint rollers leave outstanding results. Also, I color matched the exact green from the xTool's logo just for this project. Oh, and check this out. Just a little ASMR treat for y'all. Creating the logo on this cart was no easy task. In fact, the logo that I'm mimicking is actually the XCS logo, which is the logo for xTool's software. XCS stands for xTool Creative Space. I used this software to cut out the letters for the template, and I found this software to be very user-friendly. Since I'm new to the world of lasers, this made it very easy for me to take what was in my head and then actually pull it off, which doesn't always happen so easily. Getting the logo perfect to scale was a challenge, and what I did was I pulled up the logo on my phone from Google Images, and then I used a ruler to break its size down to 1/8 inch increments. Then I scaled that up to the size of the space that I had to work with on the drawer faces of the mobile cart. Worked like a charm. Footage that didn't make the final cut was of my 2 failed practice attempts at getting crisp lines on the XTOOL. I tried using a brush, which was a total failure, and I tried spray painting, but that didn't work either. Then I just used this Olfa craft knife to cut out along the template lines, pulled off the letters, foam rolled the paint, and voila, that was a winner. Without this laser cutter making this template, I could have never pulled this off. And speaking of pulling it off, I'm gonna be quiet just for once and let you all enjoy this little piece of serenity. Okay, okay, now we're gonna put polyurethane on this. It's come out better than I can imagine, perfectly to scale. I'm gonna show you a side by side. Look, I don't mean to brag, but I got a hand to myself on this one. I think I nailed it. This is the part of the build that has caused me the most stress because I really haven't done anything quite like this ever before. I mean, I've connected some wires together. That's about it. This button right here is going to be on the side of my mobile cart. So I'll be sitting at the computer like this, laser in front of me, and I can tap the side of my mobile cart and activate the smoke filter, which is really cool, so I don't have to walk around to the back and push the button. It's a little convenience that, to me, really levels up this whole entire project. I've studied this, and I believe I know what I'm doing. Here's what we're gonna do. I got wire extensions, so I can reroute it. These 4 wires, which will connect to this, will connect to these 4 wires right here. This is the power source down here where the plug goes in, and this is the actual switch. So this piece is basically replacing what these wires are doing. I have this all wired, and this is the moment of truth. I have this plugged in here, so I'm gonna turn it on. And now I'm gonna press this button. And if it works, hallelujah. Just. It didn't work. The light turned green and smoke started coming out of this thing. I have no idea what I did wrong. It's 5 days later, and I've had to do some soul searching. I believe, after my research, that the button that I purchased, this one right here, is a 5 amp button, and I got this new one from the same company that is a 10 amp button. This is powered on and waiting for me to push this button. If this doesn't work, I'm really gonna have to call for some outside help. So here goes nothing. And it didn't work. And a little bit of smoke came out. It's been about 2 weeks since I last burnt out this 5 amp button, and as you know, of course, I burnt out the 10 amp button, and I quickly realized that I was way over my head with my ambitions and goals regarding this machine. But here's what happened as the story unfolds. I didn't film any of this, and that's because I didn't feel comfortable asking to film other people, and I hope you understand, but let me explain what I consider a pretty cool story. So I was bragging about my all-in-one mobile xTool laser cart to a friend of mine who lives in my neighborhood, and he said,
There's this guy that lives next door to me who does something with like electrician stuff, or maybe he can help you out.
so I reached out to his friend, and he said,
Sure, I'll come over. I'll see what I can do to help you out.
well, turns out this guy has 40 years of working in electronics and has a degree in electronics, went to trade school, and has been doing all kinds of control panels. He was the perfect guy to help me out with this very simple problem. He came over and did a lot of wiring, and I'm not going to be able to even begin to explain what he did. There's a lot of wires going different places, and I wish I could just give you a simple formula. Hey, if you want to do this, do it too. But the reality is if you know someone who is an expert in electronics, and then have them come over to your house and help you out. And I'm sure most of you know a guy like that, right? So, hey, if you can, call him. Otherwise, I think you're out of luck, unless you know a few things about electronics. Either chances are you don't, but what you probably know about is how to attach some sweet knurled cabinet doorknobs and these satisfying sounds. Installing this 15 amp button was a breeze after the rewiring of the smoke purifier that was done for me, but don't let that deter you from building your own mobile laser station. You can still do everything that I did minus the new button. It sure is nice to have the laser, air assist, smoke purifier, and laptop all in one mobile cabinet. I added some cutouts on the doors and in the braces for optimal cord management. Just can't deny that I love this build.